Good afternoon, everybody. Hello? Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Loud and clear. How about people upstairs? Can you hear me? Perfect. Amazing, amazing. So welcome to our afternoon session. I'm just curious, before everything else, who here has learned something already from our previous sessions? Raise your hand. Who here is more than excited to learn more? Woo! Okay, perfect, perfect. So my name is Rods. I'm gonna be your host for this session. And this session's title is Force Multipliers for Good, the Being and Doing of Character. Sounds so mathematical, right? Force multipliers. Who are math teachers here? If I'm just curious. Oh, okay. We have quite a lot. So there, who would have thought that a mathematical term could be used in the context of character formation? So let me introduce our speaker. Our speaker is the head of leadership and character development at IMG Academy, the world leader in sports education. He won the Champion of Character in Sports Award in 2022. He is also a former player of the LA Dodgers. Wow. And he is now passionate about supporting students, student athletes, educators, coaches, and parents in effective long-term education to nurture positive youth development. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Pete PACIOREK. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
Appreciate it. Can you take that one? Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. This is my third opportunity to talk to the PACIOREK community. The last 3 days I've had a chance to speak, and so today's topic is actually, I'm going to smile for the camera right here. My wife tells me I don't smile enough, so I want to make sure I at least get one picture in. So this is my favorite topic to talk about. We're going to talk about effective parenting and how to be the most effective parent. Oftentimes, the emotions get involved, especially when our children are in sports or theater or extracurriculars, because we all want what's best for our children. I have 3 children myself. So excited about this topic and how parents can partner with coaches and administrators and vice versa. So looking forward to this with you all. Okay, so this is from yesterday and talking about force multipliers, creating this idea of force multipliers where it's not just a 1 + 1 equation, but the more you interact with and collaborate with people who care about building character in our youth, it's not a 1 + 1 equation, it's actually that expansive geometrical growth as that sphere of influence continues to increase exponentially. So the more we can partner with each other instead of working against each other, the better that sphere of influence and the bigger that sphere of influence becomes. Okay, so just a bit of background for those of you who weren't at previous presentations. I've authored a couple books. The book over here, Character Loves Company, is really about the doing of character. And some of you have copies of the book that I see out here. It's about the doing. There's all kinds of activities that as a parent, as a coach, you can use to elaborate on and build deeper in qualities such as integrity, respect with your young students. And then this book over here, the Prime to Compete, Coaching for Character, is more about our being, how we show up, how we be with other people, how we are with other people, how we care about other people, ourselves as adult role models and parents and coaches and educators, as well as helping our young people learn how to be their best selves and really form that character. And this book will be going to the publisher here in a couple weeks. So it's the doing of character and the being of character. So today we're talking about how coaches and parents can partner together to support the flourishing of our youth. Okay, a little bit of background. I've said this the last 3 days, but this is background on me. I'm the head of leadership, as Rod's shared, at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, which is the largest and probably most prestigious sports academy and school in the world. We have some really neat athletes, student athletes that go there. And there's a lot of different titles over here, but what I care the most about is, one, being a father to 3 children, being a good husband to my wife, who we met in high school. We were high school sweethearts. And then most importantly, and I've said this the last couple of days, I love speaking at organizations that share my faith in Christianity. And I heard an individual share this many years ago, and it's, I think, the best title any of us can have when we see each other and look at each other, rather than I'm Dr. this or I'm Dr. that. I love to share that I see myself as a child of God, and I see everyone in this room that you're all children of God as well. So I think that's the best title that any one of us can have and to cultivate in our young students as well, and your students here at the pair of schools. Okay, so I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to go through it. We're going to refer back to it later. If you have a camera, I would recommend, and I can send these slides out, I recommend you take a picture of this, because as a parent, oftentimes the emotions get going, and I've talked to a lot of coaches and a lot of different parents, and that's one of the biggest challenges. And in the sport landscape in the United States and all around the world, when I talk to people, there seems to be this divide between parents and coaches, and it doesn't make any sense, because it takes a village to raise a child up the right way. So we need to partner as parents and coaches. It's so important that we partner. So I'm just going to run through this, and we'll talk about this throughout my talk today, and we're going to have some fun together. I promise. We're going to do some audience participation, which I know everybody loves. So lessons from my family. I come from a family of 11 professional athletes, but character development has always been at the root of everything we try to do and how we try to be. So a couple bullet points here. Lessons from my family. It's not your athletic career as a parent. Your athletic career days are over. I hate to share that with you, in case you didn't know, but it's now your child's athletic journey. So let them, position them to be in the driver's seat. Let them drive it. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that, because parents always ask me, I want to help Johnny or Sally or whoever. I want to help them, but it seems like everything I say is wrong. I'm like, well, what are you saying? And they tell me, I'm like, yeah, that's not right. So helping give a little bit of advice, because it can be counterintuitive because you're so passionate. It's your own children. I get it with my own children as well. I have 3. So it's not your athletic career, so keep that in mind. Let it be theirs. And then you want to emphasize and model the type of person. So if I were to ask you all right now, and I am asking you, if you could, either in your phone or on your notes, if you have a notebook, can you write down the top 4 virtues or strengths or qualities that you hope that your child will learn from either their sport or theater or something? If they do anything extracurricular, what are the 4 things, virtues, that just pop into your head right away that you hope your child will learn? This, 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 and this. And if you can only come up with 3, that's okay. But what do you hope your child learns from participating in sports or any extracurricular activity? Take like 30 seconds. It shouldn't take too long. Don't overthink it. Okay, that should be enough time to at least have jotted some notes down. Is anybody courageous and bold enough to share one of those virtues that you hope that your child will learn from I'm going to jump down here too. Anybody willing to share? Yes, thank you.
Hi, I don't have a kid, but I would say that I would want him to learn how to lose. I don't know how you call it, but how to lose. Like learning to handle failure well.
So grace, learning with grace. Okay, I love that. Terrific, thank you for sharing. Anyway, I saw a hand over here, yes?
Hard work.
Hard work, thank you. Hard work, yes? Discipline, thank you. Resilience, grit, tenacity. Empathy, love empathy, absolutely. We want young people that have empathy. Fortitude, yes. Integrity, fortitude, doing the right thing even when it's hard.
Humility.
Humility, one of my favorites. If you don't have humility, you can't learn and you can't grow.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, teamwork, collaboration. Truthfulness, thank you, being honest and forthright. Respect, thank you. Compassion for other people. Wow, this group is amazing. Thank you. So, I was gonna say, I wasn't gonna actually ask you to share, but typically, the four, if I were to sum it up, when I talk to parents, it's hard work. So somebody said hard work, respect for other people, teamwork, and compassion, kindness, something like that. So you nailed them all. This group is awesome. So thank you for that. So how can we model that? So one thing you didn't mention was you value playing time. You notice that? Not one person, their number one, or even in their top four, is I want them to be a starter. I want them to score if they're playing football or soccer in the States. I want them to score a bunch of goals. I want them to make a lot of baskets. No, when the emotions are out of it and you're really thinking like, what is so important about what we want our young people to learn? It's those values that you mentioned. So I want you to remember that as we work through this presentation today. So coachability and respect. Okay, so there's something that I call out of sight and out of mind. Okay, so my son is 10 years old. He loves baseball. He loves every sport. He loves soccer, basketball, baseball. He wants to be an NFL football player. We'll see. And, but when we go to his games, and my daughters are in taekwondo and gymnastics, they're not necessarily in competitions, but when we go to our son's games, he was on a new team last year. He's back on that team this year. And my wife and I sit behind the right field fence. All the other parents, if you imagine home plate, if you know baseball or softball, home plate's right here. The backstop fencing is right here. And the parents they get there early so they can put their chair right here and right here. So now Johnny's in the batter's box and he swings and misses. And then he turns and guess who he looks at? His coach is over there, but he turns and looks at dad. Or as he's hitting, Johnny, get your elbow up. Get your elbow up. Okay, so we sit behind the right field fence. And there's often times where our son, his name is Duke, and he says, after the game, he said, Dad, Mom, I know you were there, but I couldn't find you. Where were you? Or like, really, we hope we're out of sight, out of mind. We don't want him looking around like, where's Waldo, trying to find us. But we're out of sight. And the reason being is I want him to have his own journey. I don't want him looking at me. Do I have more knowledge probably in baseball than his coach? Yeah, I do with my background, but I'm trusting that coach. The coach is the coach. I'm not the coach. If I wanted to coach, I would coach. But I want him to learn from other people. It takes a village. I'm going to keep saying that. It takes a village, so let's trust each other and trust that coach, empower that coach. When my son is having a bad game, I don't want him looking for me in the crowd because I'm not always going to be there. I want him figuring it out himself, or I want him to rely on the people that are coaching him. It's going to help him be successful later on in life, and I want him to have his own voice. Okay, so out of sight, out of mind. Think about that. Think about where you position yourself at your child's event. If you're right in the field of view, they're always trying to win you over. Young kids, they want to win over mom and dad. The sports have enough pressure as it is. Theater, there's enough pressure to be on this stage and perform. I'm going to ask a couple of you maybe to come up here later. And when people are looking at you and you're on stage, you get kind of nervous. Okay, so there's already enough pressure built into sports that we don't need to add additional. Okay, support the coach, support the teachers. You're at a wonderful, truly wonderful. I can tell when I step into a culture, I can tell if this culture is rooted in morals, ethics, love, compassion, and this PACIOREK community has all of that. Relationships of trust start with respect. So listen to this. So the car ride home. You're driving home, and your son or daughter doesn't get to start. Maybe they're earning their way into that starting lineup. Well, oftentimes what happens is there's friction. Mom and dad, they get in the car, and now they're bashing and talking negatively about the coach. What message, if we really step back as a parent and said, what message is that giving to my son or my daughter when we're talking negatively about their coach who is not making a lot of money as a coach? I've been coaching my whole life. I know that there's some stipends. You don't do it for the money. You do it for the impact and the passion that you have, and it's your calling to help young people. So if you're talking negatively about the coach, then what does your son or daughter think is okay to do? To talk negatively about adults and not necessarily respect. So it's so important to model for our young people what respect looks like. You might not be getting your way, you might not be getting your playing time, but it's okay. They're gonna be okay. So that's coming from my family. Here's what's coming from the research. Let them advocate for themselves. Now, if they're 7 years old and something's going on where there's bullying on the team or something, then that's different. But if it's about playing time or anything like that, let them learn how to advocate for themselves and go have conversations with the coach. That's how they grow. Let them struggle. I call it love them up. By letting them struggle. I always tell parents, please, 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 I coach at the high school level. I don't ever want to see mom or dad carrying their son or daughter's bag. If they can't carry their own bag, they're in the wrong sport. They got to play a different sport where you don't need so much luggage. Okay? So just empower them to carry their own bag. Their water bottle. If they forget their water, they're not going to dehydrate in 1 hour. Let them go with no water for a day. And then they'll remember, oh my gosh, I'm parched. I'm so thirsty. And next time they might remember their water. And it's all age appropriate, obviously. Okay, so think about that. Focus. This goes back to out of sight, out of mind. If you want your child, talk about ADHD and lack of ability to focus. If you want your child to be able to focus, then get out of their way. If they're always looking behind, they're trying to bat or they're trying to kick a penalty kick in soccer and they're just about to go and they're looking for your approval over there, then they're not focused on what they should be doing. So it's taking away from what they're training for in life, which is to be successful and to have focus. Be intentional. I already said this about where you sit. Do we want our kids to be resilient? That's a question. Do we want our kids to be resilient? Raise your hand if you say yes. Yes. Thank you. We do. So if they're going through some adversity and they're not getting the playing time they want, say thank you. Thank you. Because they're facing adversity right now in their life when they're 13 or 14. So when it comes up again, when they have children, or maybe even before that, and life gets even harder, they've dealt with adversity. That's what sports are all about. They're supposed to be dealing with adversity. They're supposed to be struggling. But if we're fighting all their battles and we're not teaching them to advocate for themselves, we're doing a disservice. So a lot of times as parents, we have to step back and think, does this make sense? Okay, so, and then lastly, I have parents ask me this all the time. Well, Coach P, I know you have children, I know they play sports. I want to help my kid. They had a bad game, and I want to help them. And so I'm giving them all these ideas and saying like, oh, Johnny, you dropped your elbow, or you did this, or you did that. And the kid just shuts off. And they say, everything I say doesn't work. Well, it's because you're saying the wrong thing, or you're saying too much. And so the best advice, I've shared this with so many parents, and they email me and say, oh my gosh, I didn't think that was going to work. But that was unbelievable. So it's 5 simple words. We say it to our daughters. We say it to our son after they're done with gymnastics, taekwondo, or whatever sport they're playing. I loved watching you play. And if maybe they didn't get to play, I loved watching what a great teammate you are. Even if they never play. And then you just do this, which is hard to do, very challenging to do, because you're a parent. You're mother bear, your father bear, you want to help them. Okay, but do this, trust me, just try it. And then it might be the whole car ride home, there might not be anything else, but if that's all you said is I loved watching you play, what message does that give to your kid? That's a pretty empowering message. And so, but typically what happens is a minute might go by, 2 minutes might go by, and then your son or daughter may say, well, Dad or Mom, what did you like about it? I didn't think I played very well. What did you think I did well? And now, who's driving that conversation? The student. Not if you're driving it. My dad played in the major leagues for baseball. He reminds me all the time because he knows that I do talks and I work with youth. He said, Pete, when you were 14 years old to 22 years old, he knew nothing. He played in the major leagues. He was pretty good, but he knew nothing. I would ask anybody else for advice aside from my dad, and aside, well, my mom passed away when I was younger. So these are just some tips. I'll come back to this at the end as well, but we're gonna work through this framework. But before we do that, I wanna reframe our approach. Dr. Juan Pablo Dub yesterday, I loved his talk on reframing. I don't know if any of you were here, but reframing education, it was brilliant. And so I want us to think about reframing our approach to how we parent when it comes to sports or extracurriculars. Okay, so what do you see right here? What does that say? Opportunity is nowhere. Or, if you reframe it, opportunity is now here. Yes, so we can reframe things. So opportunity is now here. So if you come in here and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna try to take in some of this information, I think it's gonna help me, and you're open-minded to it, that maybe you try some of these tips that I give you today, and the research shows it'll be effective. It'll help you keep your children wanting to play sports. But a lot of times parents drive their children out of sports, and it's a shame because we need them, the physical activity, the teamwork, all these life skills that you learn from sports. So we want them to keep playing. We want them to stay on the fields, stay on the courts. Okay, so we're gonna reframe this. What do you all see? Just yell it out. What do you see? Somebody sees an hourglass. Anybody see two faces? Okay, maybe you all have done this before. Okay, so here's a face, lips, here's a face, and then here's a vase in the middle, or an hourglass, or a vase. Some people pronounce it as a vase. Okay, that one's easy. Hopefully you can see both of those. We're looking at rethinking, reframing how we see things. What do you see here? Who sees a bunny rabbit? Raise your hand. Who sees a duck? Who sees a duck? Okay, oftentimes, so some people can see both. But some people are like, really? I see a bunny rabbit, but I don't see a duck. All you gotta do is switch the way you look at it. A duck is looking that way, a bunny rabbit's looking that way. Okay, it's gonna get a little bit harder as we go. What do you see here? I heard a frog and I heard a horse. Those are two different animals. Okay, so here's the foot of the frog, here's the back of the frog, here's the frog's eye, mouth. But a horse, here's the mane of the horse right here. Here's the head of the horse, the ear, the eye. Okay, so now we're seeing things differently. We're reframing how we do things. Okay, we're rethinking how we, I think it was Juan Pablo yesterday that talked about, cited Einstein, or referenced Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So for hundreds of years, parents have been doing a lot of the wrong things with their children, but yet we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and what it causes is friction. And now instead of uniting and partnering to help raise up that child as a village, now it's coach over here, parent over here, there's all kinds of friction in the middle. Okay, so parent education is so important, just like coaching education is so important. Okay, now last one here. Who sees a young woman? Raise your hand if you see a young woman. Who sees an older woman? Okay, who sees both? Raise your hand if you see both. Okay, oftentimes this one gives people a fit. So the young woman, here's the young woman's neck, her neck right here, her chin, her nose, her eye. She's wearing this fancy hat. Okay, and then there's an older woman, kind of has a big nose right here, eye, mouth, chin, and she's wearing a shawl. Isn't that amazing? So it's amazing if you look at it from a different lens. Okay, so if we look at parenting for sports in a different lens, then you're going to have more perspective. Okay, and that's what I hope you gain out of this, is having more perspective. Okay, so primed for parenting and sports. I spent time yesterday going over this. I know some of you are here, some of you weren't, so I'm gonna go through this very quickly. Okay, so it's an acronym that you can put in your back pocket. Actually, I have some little cards, I forgot to bring them out. But if you want a little index card, it's like this big. You can put it in your pocket, you can put it in your car as you're going to your kid's game. You could remind yourself that I want to be primed to be the best parent I can be. So prioritizing, what are you prioritizing? What were those 4 virtues or values that you really care about. So look for those. Don't look for how many points they score. We're looking for the wrong thing. What Juan Pablo talked about, the keys, you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking where it's bright and light, but actually where it's happening is in the dark. Okay, so you're prioritizing character. You're building relationships with your coaches. You're partnering with your coaches. You're cultivating intrinsic motivation. You're modeling the way for your young people. You're showing what it looks like. Even if things aren't going your way or going your child's way, you still demonstrate respect, because that's what we care about. We care about respect. We care about our young people having respect. You empower. You empower your child by giving them the keys to their career, letting them sit in the driver's seat instead of living vicariously through them and you trying to drive it and all this stuff. Empower them. The more you empower them, the more excited they're going to be about their journey. And then lastly, it's about long-term development. It's not about making it to the major leagues or being the MVP of the team or winning a scholarship or earning a scholarship. It's about developing young people that will be successful later on in life once sports or extracurriculars are long gone. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this a little bit, but before that, we're gonna do a friendly competition. I need 2 volunteers here. If I can get 2 volunteers, and Roz has 2 mics, if we can get 2 volunteers to come stand in the front. Now there is a little prize. I don't like to bribe people, but it's a character coin. It's really fancy. I don't know if it's real gold, I'm not sure. But it actually would be silver. But it's my nonprofit Character Loves Company, and on the back it says the values that I care about. Integrity, or that I teach. Integrity, respect, leadership, which should be servant leadership, leaving a legacy, a positive impact, and then service, serving other people. So really it is servant leadership. So we have a volunteer and a volunteer. Come on up. Let's come right here. Okay?
Okay.
And tell me your name.
Bernadette.
Bernadette?
Yes.
Good to meet you. And
Good to meet you too.
Matt.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're going to face the screen, and whatever image you see come up on the screen, you got to say it in your mic. So the first one to get it right wins. And you can get audience participation on your side of the room. So this is your side over here. You're cheering for Bernadette. Go, Bernadette!
Come on,
Give it up for Matt. Even you people in the back, up top, we'll split you. You're on this side, ladies, and you're on this side, okay? So make sure you bring the thunder and cheer on your team. Okay, so a friendly competition. We all love competitions. So the first thing you see, you got to blurt it out. Not that.
Peanuts.
What did you say?
Peanuts.
Peanuts. Okay, we got it over here. Matt's up 1-0.
That's better, people. Come on.
Even though your teammate is down, you still want to cheer and be positive.
Hello.
Okay, here we go. It's kind of nerve-wracking when the pressure's on because you're representing your whole team. That's how kids are. They're at the free throw line, shoot your free throw. Okay, here we go.
Chips.
No, Cropek.
Okay,
Potato chips.
so Matt said chips, and Matt is from New Zealand, right?
Chops. The chops.
So in New Zealand, they are chips, but Bernadette's from
The Philippines.
the Philippines, and when in Rome, right? So the winner right here. 1-1. Okay, here we go.
Guacamole.
Guacamole.
Guacamole right here.
It's food. I've got this.
I was about to say avocado. Nachos.
Okay, here we go.
Popsicle.
I think I heard popsicle over here. What did you
Ice
say?
block. It's an ice block.
Okay, we call them popsicles, so we'll go 2-2. Which is really cool because you learn different cultures of ice pops versus popsicles. Okay, here we go.
Fish
Mozzarella sticks.
All right.
Come on. Cheer. That's fine.
Now we got to make sure.
Keep it positive.
We got to make sure we stay positive. So when I do this with our students, they get really intense on this. They
Her
love doing
microphone
stuff like
might
this.
stop working in a minute.
So when I give them the option, is somebody on your side, you can, like in baseball, if the pitcher is getting tired, you can go to the bullpen. So if you want to signal to the bullpen, you can bring in a relief pitcher if you want. If you want. Okay, but let's make sure we stay positive with our teammates. Okay,
Yes.
Here we go. So 3-2, Bernadette's leading.
Popcorn. Chocolate chip cookies.
We got it here. 4-3.
LOL.
LOL.
Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Laugh out loud.
Okay. So I should have warned you. We shifted from food images to acronyms.
Oh
I'm in trouble now.
So kids,
Bullpen.
so our young people, our children, they love using acronyms. So you can't say LOL because obviously that's not
Yeah.
what it means.
no. Okay.
So laugh out loud. So now we're tied up 4-4. We got this big prize on the
Hang on,
the
am
line.
I allowed to go to the bullpen? I reckon there's someone
You want
stronger
to go to the
in
bullpen?
acronyms than me.
Okay, so he's showing humility here, and he's saying, you know what? I'm not great at acronyms. Okay,
This
we got
is
a
so you.
reliever.
You've got this.
Okay.
You're completely over text messaging.
Tell me your first name again.
Ian.
Okay, so we're tied up. 4-4. Okay, I think we have 4 or 5 more, so it's 4-4. Here we go. Remember, don't yell out what it says. What does it mean?
Oh my
God.
God.
She's just louder than we are, but
No.
Hey, now, I know that we don't want to take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
So, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness or oh my gosh?
Oh my goodness.
What did you say?
I
You're a little...
blaspheme. So
Didn't quite get- okay. 5-4.
I don't want that. I don't
my
want
hands
that
are
point.
cold.
She can have that one.
Okay. All right, here we go.
ETA, expected time of
Here
arrival.
we go. We got it here. 5-5.
That's good.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was building rapport.
Ian was getting some mojo from his side. He's like, come on.
I thought I saw my parents in the stands.
Yeah, he was looking for his parents like, Mom, help me.
I'm focused.
Okay.
I'm focused now.
6-5.
Point of view.
Point of view.
Point of view. High game.
Fear of
Fear
missing
of
out.
missing out. Okay.
Fear of...
Go, go, go.
So if you don't know that one, I wasn't familiar with that one. Fear of missing out, which our young people with social media and with everything going on, that's real. I mean, that's why that's a term that they use, fear of missing out. So that's something that we can help them with, to find balance in their life. Okay, is that tied 7-7? Oh, he's up. 8-7. Okay, here we go. I think there's 2 more. Oh, no, that was it. That was it. Give it up for Ian. There you go. Congratulations.
I think we won. We won. Energy. It's more important, right? Energy and love. Thank you.
Bernadette, great job. Great job.
Congratulations.
So friendly competition. We all had fun. Close game. That's what we want. A lot of times we see at the school I'm at, they want to go 25-0. Oh, good catch. Nice catch. They want to go 25-0 and they want to beat people by 50 points. How does that help anybody? I talk to my son's coach, asks me for advice occasionally, and I tell him, I said, if you could create a schedule for young people where your team goes 13-12, I mean, it's one thing at the varsity level if your team's really good and elite, you win the champ. But at the younger levels, if you can go 13-12 and be one game above 500, that's great. A lot of times coaches, they feel like it's their own ego and they want to win every game. Well, if you're winning every game, you're probably not playing the right competition, so it's not helping. Why do that? You're just basically wasting your time, so why not make it competitive? Okay, so prime for parenting in sports. I love these pictures. I'll tell you what, a lot of you are parents, your children here, I can walk on a campus and I can tell culture, you can feel culture. I'm sure you all feel it, and that's why you're part of PACIOREK, the schools. But when I walk on this campus right away, I got here, I hadn't had much sleep, and it's just like these kids student leaders are coming up and they're so gracious, they're so kind, they're so compassionate, they're so respectful. That's an indication of you. It's an indication of the partnership you have with the educators here, the coaches. So give it up. Yes. Give it up for you. So some pictures that I've had, these two young men came up to me the other day, yesterday I think it was, and they're baseball players. And they found out I was a baseball player, and I'm drawing a blank on their names right now, but this first baseman and a center fielder. And I guessed it. I just know baseball. I can guess what position they play. But they were so kind and they were so generous. And what an awesome culture. I don't know if they're any good at baseball or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is the type of people they are and what they're learning through sports. So the more we can support that and keep them involved in sports, the better. And then these women, these young women as well, were just remarkable. And all the student leaders, I get a chance. I'm so excited. I love talking to adults and parents and coaches and educators. Tomorrow I get to spend an hour and a half with the student leaders. I think there's 200, 300 of them going to be here. I'm so excited to share some ideas and some concepts around leadership and virtue cultivation and formation. Okay, so quick story. This gentleman right here was the first ever Dominican Republic born football player ever to play in the NFL. His name is Byron Matos, B-A-Y-R-O-N, Matos. And last year at IMG Academy where I work, I had a chance to train 15 to 18 NFL potential athletes. And Byron, I was intimidated by him. He's 6'8", 350 pounds, and he runs a 4.8 40-yard dash. So if you know anything about that, that's a big human being moving very fast. And this is my son. This is my son, Duke. He was there, and I had a chance to introduce him. Byron was so nice to him. And so the first session I had with these NFL players, they asked if I do one session on leadership and character development. That one session turned into 5 sessions because they're like, this is really good. We need this stuff. A lot of the stuff I'm going to share with your students tomorrow, your kids tomorrow. So that first session was about your why or your purpose. And I had all these big, huge guys, and I was kind of intimidated because I didn't know them. And they're gigantic guys, and they're so driven, and they're so talented. And I had them think about their why. And had them think about who they are now and who they want to become and why do they want to be an NFL player. So Byron is very outgoing, and he says, so he shared with the whole group. He said, my why is I want to get that chicken. And so get that chicken in his culture of Dominican Republic means I want to make a lot of money so he was raised by a single mom. Moms are amazing. He was raised by a single mom, didn't have a dad in his life, and he had 7 or 8 brothers and sisters, very poor. He said he grew up sleeping on the floor, always hungry, but he knew his mom was doing everything she could to provide for him. And he really appreciated that. So he wants to make it to the NFL. That's his fuel. That's his why, so he can give back to his family. Give back to his mom. I said, Byron, man, that's awesome. That's so cool. That's going to fuel you to get up every morning and work harder than anybody because you want to give back to your family. But so then they got back into groups, and they were sharing their why with their teammate. And I said, challenge yourself to go even deeper. Why? 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 Why do you want that? Why do you want that? So then I shared my why. I said, my why, guys, is I'm here. I said, I've never met you before. But I said, my why is I want to make a positive impact in your life and help you grow in your character. I said, I lost my mom when I was 12 years old. 12 years old, my mom, she meant everything to me. I grew up in a big family, and I was the total mama's boy. I'll admit it. Total mama's boy, 12 years old, my mom passed away of breast cancer. So it's a cause that I really care about. And I told these gentlemen, I don't share it too often, but I shared it. I said, my mom passed away when I was 12, and along with my wife, the most impactful person ever. And I only had her in my life until I was 12, and I'm now almost 50. Huge impact she made. So every day I know she's looking down on me and I want to make her proud. That's why I try to bring my best every day, because I want to make my mom proud. I said, that's my why. And Byron, so then they got back in groups, and then when we brought them all back together, Byron said, hey, he called me Dr. P. He said, Dr. P, he said, can I share something? I said, sure, Byron. He said, I know I said before about getting that chicken, and I want to get that chicken. I want to get that, it's important. But he said, I thought a little deeper. He's like, you know what, and listening to you talk about your mom, he's like, my mom is so impactful in my life. She did so much for me. She sacrificed so much. I know she had sleepless nights, and I want to make my mom proud. And literally, I had tears in my eyes. This big, huge, 6'8" guy being vulnerable with me and the rest of the group. And so Byron, that was on a Monday. Sorry, this is kind of a long story, but there's a lot going on here. That was on a Monday. On Wednesday, the Denver Broncos, which is an NFL football team, flew him out to Denver to sit across the table with the general manager, the head coach, and 2 other executives. And he sits down. He's sitting there, and guess what the first question was they asked him? What do you think that first question was? What's your why? No joke. He said he almost fell out of the chair. He said he had thought it because we went through this whole activity. He knew his why inside and out about making his mom proud and all this stuff. He said he spoke for about 5 minutes about his why, and these executives that are really cold usually, some of them had tears in their eyes, and they are leaning in, and they're like, this is our guy. We love this guy. And he said everything else he said, the rest of the interview, they're eating out of his hand because he was authentic, he was true, he knew who he was. It wasn't just about making a lot of money, it was about, I want to make my mom proud. If your kid is doing something for those types of reasons, for other people focused, they're going to go get it, and they're going to stay motivated. If it's about just for themselves, if it's only about themselves, the research shows that when you start to struggle, you quit. But if it's about other people, it's bigger than yourself. And so Byron comes back on the next Monday, and he gives me a bear hug, and he almost breaks my chest. And he said, Dr. P, you'll never believe what the first question the Denver Broncos was. I had no idea. I said, what was it? He's like, they asked me my why. He's like, and it was unbelievable. It was the best answer. I felt so authentic and real, and they loved me. And so then the Miami Dolphins find out that the Denver Broncos want him, and then they get into this bidding war. He signs a $1.7 million US dollar contract, and he didn't play a single down. He was on the practice team this year. He just signed a second year. They love him so much. He's such a great person. They love him so much that they just signed him they increased his salary. Now he's like making like $1.9 million. He might play on the field this year, or he might still be a practice player. But because he knows his why, and he's such a good person, and he gives back to the community. So anyways, that's a quick story about not a quick story, a long story about the importance of helping our young people know their why and know who they are. Okay, so the 4 pillars of character, I talked about this yesterday. Our young people live here. Whether it's academics, whether it's sports, whether it's getting that lead role in the play, performance character, which is a great thing. We want our young people to care about being the best they can be. Winning is a good thing, but it can't be winning at all costs. It can't be just results oriented. It's got to be growth minded. It's got to be process oriented. So I work with our athletes at IMG Academy about balancing all 4 of these pillars. So the most important pillar and the meta principle, the meta value, virtue, or pillar is moral. It's more important than anything else, is that they have the moral character, commitment to integrity. How do they treat their teammates? How do they treat their parents? How do they act when things are hard? Doing the right thing when nobody's watching. Intellectual characters, commitment to, it's not how smart you are, it's not your IQ. It's your commitment to truth, learning the truth, seeking the truth, not just taking, if somebody's gossiping about another kid, and just saying, oh yeah, I guess that's true. No, getting to actually know that kid and realize, that's not true about them. That's rumors. That's not true about them. They're a great human being, and I'm going to support that person. So having that growth mindset, and then your civic character is your commitment to making a positive impact. A lot of people think civic character is like going to the Special Olympics or going to a food bank, doing something like that, and that's wonderful. If you do that, if your child does that, they probably have a heart of gold. They have a great heart. But civic character is more than that. It's every day. Civic character is, are you making your classroom environment better with your engagement? Are you making your team better, whether you play or not, by how supportive you are with your teammates? So civic character is something we have to cultivate. It's probably the most neglected pillar of the 4 pillars. So the more we can do to help our young people cultivate that civic character, the better. So this is a great analogy here. This chair, if you don't have 4 legs, what happens when you sit in that chair? What happens? you fall over. You fall over or you counterbalance yourself, right? And then what does that lead to? Burnout, injury, stress on your knee, stress on your hip. Okay, so we have to make sure we cultivate in our young people all of these. So sometimes sitting on the bench and not getting to play is cultivating that. Is cultivating that intellectual character. How can I get better? How can I do more? How can I train harder? Okay? I'm going to check on my time here. Gosh, the time goes by fast. Okay, so relationships, building relationships of trust. I already talked about this, so I can zoom through this pretty quick. Is relationships of trust. Are you supporting your coach or are you not? It's as simple as that. Okay, so support each other. It works both ways. Okay, those relationships, it's not a one-way relationship. Okay, so how can you be supportive? As a coach, I'll tell you, as a coach of 30 years, it's hard. It's hard work to build culture. So help that coach. If they're not playing your child, then let them advocate for themselves, as I talked about before. But build those relationships of trust with your parents. Okay, intrinsic motivation. What we emphasize matters. So if your child gets in the car and you're blasting the coach, that's what's important. And you're teaching them that respect for coach isn't important. Okay, that's what you're emphasizing. If your first question is, how many points did you score? How many goals did you score? What is that telling your child? If they didn't score any goals, they must have been a failure. They must not have done a very good job. Okay, so that's why that first thing you should say, let them get situated. I loved watching you play. A lot of times we do that. We call our son Dookie. Hey, Dookie, I loved watching you play. I give him a little pound. We walk to the car, and he might want to talk about the game, or he might want to go get an ice cream cone. He's only 10 years old. So intrinsic motivation, what are we cultivating in our young people? Role modeling, I talked about this. Respect, commitment. If somebody's not playing, I know a lot of parents who, if their child's not playing, they're like, no, this is a waste of our time. I drove an hour to watch my son play, or my daughter. I get that, it's hard. And my daughter didn't play. It's a really close game. I was hoping they'd get in, they didn't get in. Oh, that's a waste of time. It's a zero-sum game. That's a bad approach, because now you're not emphasizing commitment. Commitment when it's hard. Commitment when it's hard, because in relationships, in family, it's going to get hard. So are we teaching commitment, or are we teaching as soon as it gets hard, you can just quit? No. So making sure we're modeling that. Empowerment. I love this, Filipino mom strong. Build those empower your child. Let them drive. Let them, not literally drive, but let them drive their own athletic career. Put them in the driver's seat. It's about them. It's not about us. Okay, so how can we empower them to be great leaders? Okay, you didn't play, or you did play, and there's leadership skills you can learn, even when you're not in the game. You're supporting your teammates. There's all kinds of life lessons that you learn, whether you're on the field, on the pitch, or you're not. And then playing the long game. Are we in this for the long game? Are we in it for our children to be great human beings who are going to be great mothers and great fathers and great business women and men and great people in our society and great teachers and great lawyers and great educators? Or are we just about them winning the championship today? So don't be short-sighted. Play the long game. Let them endure through some challenges, because that's what sports is supposed to do. You're supposed to work through some challenges and some adversity. Okay, so this idea of the primed framework, those 6 design principles, it's rooted in 30 to 40 years of research based on the work of Dr. Marvin Berkowitz at the University of St. Louis, as well as his colleague, Dr. Mindy Beer. They poured their heart and soul into this. And Dr. Berkowitz and I are writing a second book on this, on primed for coaching, for character. So the secret sauce with primed is not on Monday, you do prioritization and purpose. On Tuesday, I guess it's Tuesday, I'll do relationship, but no. It's everything. So the way I've been using this the last 7 years, and it brings a lot more fulfillment to me, is 2 or 3 minutes when I'm driving to my practice to coach or my workshop, or even coming here today, I'll go through the prime principles. It'll help me show up and be my best. And then afterwards is, I think, the most important, is because we work in the healthcare industry, right? If you're a teacher, a coach, an educator, we work just like a nurse, a doctor. you need to have a framework, something that helps you get back to your balance. Okay, so what I like to do as a coach is I go through these after and I say, how did I do on these? Good day, bad day, every day I do this, and it builds a routine. And so now it helps me with my own health and wellness and fulfillment because it gets me back to what's truly important. It used to be when I first got into coaching, if we lost a game that we should have won, I couldn't sleep at night. As a coach, I literally couldn't sleep at night. I'd come home, I was a college coach, I'd come home, my kids were really young, and I was not even an effective parent because I didn't have a strategy. So now I have a strategy to get back to balance using the Prime framework so I can show up. When I walk in the door to my family, good or bad game, as a coach, I can now be there 100% present. And now the game is in the past, I've reflected on it, and I've moved past. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we go again, the checklist. If you didn't take a picture before and you want to, I put it back up here again. I know we only have 5 minutes for Q&A. So if anybody has any questions about how anything I talked about today or how you can be a more effective, really not effective, supportive. Because we all as parents, we all want to help our children. We all want to see them thrive, but oftentimes we do the wrong things and it ends up shooting ourselves in the foot, so to speak. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, maybe you can entertain one question from the audience. Anyone? Please raise your hand or approach the mic in the middle. Okay, going once, going twice.
Right here, somewhere.
Okay. Yes. Go.
Parents' commitment to respect the coach is asking them to sign a commitment to leave everything to the coach. Is it effective? What does the research say?
Yeah, a code of conduct, if you know, it's something where it doesn't mean that you're excusing coaches from ever having conversations or that parents can't be around. As a coach myself, I don't want the parents in the dugout hovering. It's for the kids' sake. It's not for my sake. I have confidence in myself as a coach. I don't mind, but it's for your own children. So don't be hovering like hungry dogs right by the dugout or wherever the kids are on the bench. So it's not a code of conduct. Not excusing, not saying that okay, I remove myself as a coach. They sign this. They can't. No, it's a partnership. It's a partnership. So what a code of conduct does, it's a reminder. It's a reminder of what our culture values. Our culture values the coach. Our culture values respect. Our culture values that the coach is working really hard to build up your child, and they need your support. So I think writing the code of conduct, my suggestion would be, I think code of conducts can be helpful, just because it's a good reminder at the start of the season. But I also think having parents' input, and I love it, pair of schools here, how you have a parent, what's it called again? Parent coordinators, I love that. You're already way ahead of every other school. I mean, way ahead. So you're on the right track. Now maybe you want to have parents have some insights and some input into that. Another suggestion that I have for coaches is to send a survey out to the parents before the season starts. And exactly what I did. What are your top 4 values that you care about? If we go back to those 4 values, they fit in beautifully in here. Hard work, performance character, respect, moral character, learning, growth mindset. You want them to learn, have a capacity to learn. And then civic character, being a good teammate, learning how to collaborate with other people, civic character. So they're all right there. You came up with them, and you fit them right into the 4 pillars of character. So I think a code of conduct can be good. I also think strategies is just, parents, step back. Step back a little bit and reflect on what do you really value and care about. But yeah, I think a code of conduct shows that the coaching staff cares, and they want to partner with you, and they want to make sure we're all on the same page, because trust me, probably not at PACIOREK, but at other places, there's some parents that are just screaming at the officials, and it's nasty, and it's embarrassing. And we start off our new book by sharing a story that happened 2 years ago in the States where I think it was an 11-year-old or 10-year-old football program, the head coach was shot in the back 2 times after a game because a parent felt their son didn't get enough playing time. I mean, no joke. That was in the, so we start off our book talking about that. So there's some crazy, crazy examples. So it's important to set that tone right off the bat that, hey, this is what we're all about. We're about operating with respect, supporting each other. So, but if the code of conduct is just a check of the box, and there's not further communication and dialogue and collaboration, then it doesn't do a whole lot. But if it's really about supporting the growth of our children, that's where you see the most growth. And I know there's 2 questions. I'll be here, and my email address, I'll put it back up. I know that there's another talk after, so I want to honor that. Let me go back to this last slide. And even if you can't do it right now, I really value your feedback. So if you could just click on the QR code and maybe fill it out later. There's only 3 questions. It provides me with feedback for how I can be more effective with this. My email address is here, and also my cell phone number. So I'll be around here all day and tomorrow as well, so I'd love to answer any questions. But here's my contact information, and there's the QR code. I'd love for you to create or do that, complete that short survey for me would be great, okay? Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pete PACIOREK. Those were very, very wonderful insights. It felt like opening a treasure chest and, being filled with so much treasures. So thank you so much. So we have breakout sessions next. Before that, just a quick few announcements. Unfortunately, the books of Dr. Pete are sold out, but they can be bought in Amazon. And that's a sign that indeed you should buy that book because it's a really, really good one. That's why it got sold out. And please take the opportunity as well to buy our PAREF merchandise at the registration booth. And for our breakout sessions, we have the following. For the next one, it's entitled, Will You Still Love Me? A Testimony of a Child's Mental Health Struggles, featuring actors Nonni and Charmaine Buencamino. It's going to be at the conference A and B, or also known as the main lecture hall in the main building, main lobby, in 2nd floor. On the other hand, the next one is still going to be here. It's a parent formation promoting family apostolate through the marriage course. And for the QR code for this session's talk, okay, the QR has limit. So if ever you reach the 400-person limit, just take a picture of it and access it in the next few days so you could get your certificate. Okay? So those who are going to Mr. Nonni and Ms. Charmaine Buencamino's talk, you may rise up now and proceed to the conference hall. Thank you very much.